Hey, everybody. I'm here. I'm getting all this set up so that we can chat and see what's going on. Since it's my second time, I've got a few things fixed, not everything. We've been going over the first six presidents of the United States, and we've had our CDB. We've gone all the way up to John Quincy Adams and Monroe Doctrine. So there's some things that we can go over with that. If you will bear with me for just a minute while I set up and make sure I can see my chat line. Okay, so hang on just a minute while I set that up. Get that way. That one's not cool. Let's do it that way. Okay, there we go. Go into my YouTube station. Seeing what kind of questions we've got coming in and what's going on. So I can see y'all's feed and what's going on with that. So here we go.
Come on. Come here. Come on.
Hello. Let's see who all's in here. Where's my chat at? There's my chat. It's coming up. I'm saying something. Let's see.
Y'all's feed and what's going on with that.
All right.
So here we go.
Do that. Okay. Anybody there? 5 watching. Hi. So go ahead and sign in and let me know you're here. And we'll start with your questions and see what's going on there. All right, guys? Yeah. See what's happening. Hot stuff. All right. We've been going over the presidents. The most recent that we hit was John Quincy Adams. John Quincy Adams was Secretary of State under James Monroe, and he did sort of a backdoor deal called the corrupt bargain, according to Andrew Jackson, who felt very robbed in his election. In that election, the Henry Clay, who was in the House, if you recall, there was a tie. Well, not necessarily a tie, but Jackson didn't get enough votes to outright win the Electoral College. He only had 39%. You had to have 50% to win the Electoral College. So John Quincy Adams, who had 32% of the votes, went to Henry Clay and said, "Hey, dude, I'll make you my Secretary of State if you promise to support me in the House of Representatives electing the next president." And so that went down, and it was called the corrupt bargain. And with the corrupt bargain, they had I'm not seeing any chats. If y'all are doing questions or anything, just let me know, but I'm not seeing any questions coming up. If you wanted to in there and chat and put some questions out there for me, I'd appreciate it so I can answer them better for you. But anyways, so Henry Clay goes and he does this deal. And as you know, there's no President Henry Clay, because up to that point, the Secretary of State usually ended up being the president, like John Quincy Adams. Hello, Riley. And then if we go back from that, we go to Monroe. And the big thing about Monroe, there were a couple major things that happened in his presidency. One of them was the Monroe Doctrine, which John Quincy Adams actually wrote, which is interesting, but he was so and it happened under Monroe's presidency, so it got his name. So the Monroe Doctrine basically said after Simon Bolivar declared independence from the South American, from Spain, Monroe saw this as an opportunity to tell Europe to quit colonizing here and to stay on their side. And basically, he created the Eastern and the Western Hemisphere. And so it says, hey, guys, stay on your side. The land race between the European countries to own the Americas is over. You're out of it. You are not to come here and try to colonize. You're not to come on our turf. You're to stay away. And if you try to come here and mess with us, it's considered an act of war. And you have to deal with us. Well, why was that such a threat from America? Well, after the War of 1812, and we kicked Britain's butt 2 times. We had the American Revolution and then the War of 1812. After we did that twice, what we need to look at is that with the War of 1812 is we now have an elite fighting force. Under Jefferson, it was stripped away. Then under Monroe or Madison with the War of 1812, we rebuilt it. Now Monroe has the ability to sort of say, hey, we've proven ourselves and we can prove to you that we're not going to be done. Okay, Adriana goes, what are important dates that we should know for the test? Okay, well, we always need to know 1803. What was 1803, guys? You all better know this. What happened in 1803? Anybody write me an answer. Looking to see what you know. Ooh, we lost somebody. 1803. Anybody know the answer? Bueller. Okay, it was the Louisiana Purchase. So the Louisiana Purchase happened in 1803. In the election of 1800. Thank you, Dianara. Thank you. There you go. Now y'all are posting up. There must be a delay. Okay, so 1803 Louisiana Purchase. Then we have another important date you would need to know would be the in 1812. What happened in 1812? Hey, Nathan. In 1812. What happened in 1812? Thank you. The War of 1812. What year was the Battle of New Orleans? And why was it important? Why do we need to know? I mean, there are several things, but what are some important things we need to know about the Battle of New Orleans and what year was it in? Good job, Rogan. 1812, the War of 1812 started. Thank you. The War of 1812. What year was the Battle of New Orleans? And why was it important? Why do we need to know? I mean, there are several things, but what are some important things we need to know about the Battle of New Orleans and what year was it in? Good job, Rogan. 1812, the War of 1812 started. I'm trying to hear what I say. Okay, 815. It was the last major battle of the War of 1812, as well as who became a national hero from that? Old Hickory, Andrew Jackson, which is going to lead to him being able to go and run against John Quincy Adams for the presidency that led to the corrupt bargain. And then it just went downhill from there. And John Quincy Adams said it was the worst 4 years of his life. Other important dates, we got what treaty ended the War of 1812 and when was it signed? Andrew Jackson, which is going to lead to him being able to go and run against John Quincy Adams for the presidency that led to the corrupt bargain. John Quincy Adams said it was the worst 4 years of his life. We got what treaty ended the War of 1812 and when was The Treaty of Ghent. Good, Nathan. The Treaty of Ghent. Anybody know when it was signed? It's a holiday we celebrate. The Treaty of Ghent. Good, Nathan. Treaty of Ghent. Anybody know when it was signed? It's a holiday we celebrate. Hi, Ryan. Who likes waffles? I'm going to see if I get a. Yeah. The only thing I don't like about this is I feel like I'm just sitting here spinning my wheels, wasting time while because of the lag in the thing when it presents. So then I feel like I need to fill that space and be entertaining, which might be. Okay, we're not talking about pancakes, guys. What year? Treaty of Ghent signed. What date? It's a holiday we celebrate. December, good. It's a specific date in December, Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1814. So the War of 1812 only lasted 2 years. What are some causes of the War of 1812? Who can tell me some of the causes of the War of 1812? Hey, you're cool, Nathan. No problems. Impressment, good. What else? Mm. Hey, you're cool, Nathan. No problem. I'm looking at my screen. Impressment, good. What else? Any day now. The British were helping the Native Americans. Awesome. And the British are seizing the American ships. Great job, guys. Awesome. Okay, let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to our first president, George Washington. George Washington put together a lot of different practices that weren't in place. The biggest challenge he had with the new nation is we had nothing to go on. We're starting from scratch. There's nothing there. What is it when we put together a practice that establishes the way things are going to be, and then you practice it from then on? And the British are seizing the American ships. Great job, guys. Awesome. Okay, let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back to our first president, George Washington. George Washington put together a lot of different practices that weren't in place. The biggest
challenge he had with the new nation is we had nothing to go on. We're starting from scratch. There's nothing there. What is it when we put together a practice that establishes the way things are going to be, and then you practice it from then on?
Thank you, Rogan. A precedent. Excellent. So tell me guys some of the precedents that Washington put into place that weren't in there before.
Thank you, Rogan. A precedent. Excellent. So tell me guys some of the precedents that Washington put into place that weren't in there before.
The farewell address, good. Something else.
The farewell address, good. Something else.
I'm taking notes to make sure I hit everything. The Copyright Act of 1790. No. Choosing a cabinet. Good. Not the Naval Act. We had the Judicial Act where we set up the judiciary branch. That came under him. Other precedents would be like serving only 2 terms. A farewell address. The Proclamation of Neutrality was something else that Washington put into place. What did the Proclamation of Neutrality do? No, not Chase Treaty.
Not the Naval Act. We had the Judicial Act where we set up the judiciary branch. That came other precedents would be like serving only 2 terms. Farewell address. The Proclamation of Neutrality was something else that Washington put into place. What did the Proclamation of Neutrality do? No, not Chase Treaty.
Yes. We weren't going to fight with Britain or France, and we were going to be neutral. Does anybody know the reasoning why Washington was so wise at making us a neutral nation? I do not like the lag time tonight. It's really slow.
Yeah. We weren't going to fight with Britain or France, and we were going to be neutral. Does anybody know the reasoning why Washington was so wise at making us a neutral nation?
This is really hard to do solo. Right. We weren't ready for a war. We were a new fledgling country. We couldn't enter into, we didn't have a military. We didn't have people set up. Heck, we didn't even have a way to pay our debt, which is where Alexander Hamilton, as the Secretary of the Treasury, came in, establishing and fighting for a national bank. And the national bank needed to be put together so that we could pay our debts. Now, as a result of that and wanting to establish the national bank, the southern states had already paid their debt, but the northern hadn't. So what was the compromise that was reached to establish the first national bank to pay our debts from the war, and that the South got because they'd already paid their debt, but they still had to put money into the national bank? What was that compromise they did?
And that the South got because they'd already paid their debt, but they still had to put money into the national bank. What was that compromise they did?
No, not the compromise of 1790. Nope. There's this city now that has a monument to Washington in it.
No, not the compromise of 1790. There's a city now that has a monument to Washington.
While I'm waiting on you to answer that one, and I'll come back to it, we're going to in a minute do name that treaty. I'm going to tell you what it is, and y'all are going to type in there what treaty I'm talking about. So start thinking about all the treaties that we've done also while I'm waiting on y'all to answer the what you thought that compromise was in that city that was created to help the southern states buy into the Bank of the U.S. Not the Louisiana Purchase. Louisiana Purchase isn't going to be till 1803. We're in the 1700s. It was actually Washington, D.C. If you recall, Hamilton wanted to create a national bank, the Bank of the U.S., so that we could have a place to put our debt, accrue credit, and be able to pay back our war debt from the Revolutionary War. And as a result of that, the southern states had already paid all their debt. So to get them to buy in, the southern states mandated that the capital of the country needed to be moved from New York City down to Washington, D.C.
If you recall, Hamilton wanted to create a national bank, the Bank of the U.S., so that we could have a place to put our debt, accrue credit, and be able to pay back our debt from the war, Revolutionary.
So while you're thinking about that, I got some treaties for you. We got some treaties. I'm going to give you a little definition of them or give you an example, and you type up what you think that treaty is. This treaty was made with Spain to get us access to that Mississippi River and the port of New Orleans. Anybody remember what treaty that was? Can you name that treaty? Our next treaty I want you to think about and type an answer to. Well, this is when we had Britain and France are at war with each other, and now they're going to start attacking our ships. And we're just trying to stay neutral, man. Yes, Adriana, that's Pinckney's treaty was with Spain and the Mississippi River. Now, back to this other treaty. We're getting attacked. Our sailors are being impressed. And this, our Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court is going to go over to England and make a treaty with them to get them to stop attacking our ships and impressment. But the South gets really angry and it goes up in flames. Burn. Yes, John Jay's treaty. Jay's treaty. John Jay was the first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and he created Jay's treaty. The other thing we have is there was a battle in the Northwest Territory with Little Turtle and the Miami Indians, and we had the Battle of Fallen Timbers, and this treaty was created to bring peace with the Native Americans over the Northwest Territory. Our next treaty. This is the treaty that's going to end the War of 1812. Woo woo. The War of 1812, signed on December 24th. Yes, the Treaty of Greenville ended the battle with Little Turtle. Woo! Y'all are on fire with treaties. You're burning it up. Now we have all these treaties going on, ended wars. But when Washington first became the president, we had a little uprising. It wasn't real popular. It was because of attacks on whiskey, and so we had a rebellion called the Whiskey Rebellion, which I'm sure y'all remember the name of it. But I want to know from y'all, why was the Whiskey Rebellion so important? What did it prove? Yes, the treaty again ended the War of 1812. Whoop whoop. It showed the Constitution worked unlike the Articles of Confederation. Exactly. Because the Articles of Confederation was shown not to work by this rebellion, often confused with the whiskey, but not the same. Which rebellion showed the Articles of Confederation was not working? Very good. The government had the power and will to enforce laws. Y'all are on fire. Very good. Shays' Rebellion showed the Articles of Confederation was not working. Ding, ding, ding. And we have a winner, chicken dinner. Okay. Now, we had two big other guys that came up through the creation of the Constitution. And they were on different sides of the aisle. Hamilton and Jefferson. So my question to you is, I'm going to give you a little bit of descriptors and you tell me who am I talking about. He was for the farmers. He was against the Bank of the U.S. He wanted a loose interpretation of the Constitution. Yes, Jefferson. Very good. Now let's talk about his other counterpart. This guy wanted the Bank of the U.S. He said industry is the future and we cannot trust the common man. Dang it, I forgot about them. I'm going to go over some court cases that we have not gone in full over, but we've done some of them. And I'm going to do a little mini teach on some of those. One of them you should know, it established judicial review, and it was after the appointment of the midnight judges under Adams. And this gave power to the judicial branch.
We have not gone in full over, but we've done some of them. I'm going to do a little mini teach on some of those. One of them you should know, it established judicial review, and it was after the appointment of midnight judges under Adams, and this gave power to the judicial branch.
Yes, Hamilton was the other guy that we're looking at. Jukebox Hero. I got this song stuck in my head. Okay. One that we haven't really gone over is Gibbons versus Ogden. That's basically about steamboats and interstate trade. And the Supreme Court is going to say its decision is the court explained that Congress had the power under the Interstate Commerce Clause of Article 1, Section 8 to grant Gibbons a license to operate steamboats between New York and the New Jersey, since the Constitution makes laws of the U.S. do not conflict with the Constitution part of the Supreme Court of the land. New York's action had to give way. So basically, Gibbons versus Ogden says that federal law trumps state law. That's basically what that means. Federal law is more important than state law. Good. Marbury versus Madison was that Supreme Court case that established judicial review. Excellent.
Article 1, Section 8 to grant Gibbons a license to operate steamboats between New York and the New Jersey, since the Constitution makes laws of the U.S.
You can see I'm not up on all my Supreme Court cases. So I owe y'all one of apology on that one. James McCulloch, the bank may refuse to pay the tax and is prosecuted. Okay, McCulloch versus Maryland is the one with the Bank of the U.S., where we had a state bank try to sue the Bank of the U.S., and John Marshall ruled in favor of the federal government, saying the power to tax involves the power to destroy. Shocker. Anyways, basically, McCulloch versus Maryland, Ogden versus Gibbons, Marbury versus Madison are three court cases that say that the federal government is stronger than the state government, and that you need to know that Marbury versus Madison is judicial review. It gives the Supreme Court the power to overrule on that. That's the biggie about your court cases. Even though we haven't gone over all of them, which we're going to do a lot more on it. The other one you may see, which you shouldn't see, but you have to know, is Worcester versus Georgia. Worcester versus Georgia is the Indian Removal Act, that which we'll get into that more next week. We're not there yet. I want to do a little more in depth on that one. But that's the case with the court cases. Anybody have any questions up to this point that they want to ask me or they're unsure of before I go on to Adams' presidency?
Even though we haven't gone over all of them, which we're going to do a lot more on it. The other one you may see, but you shouldn't see, but you have to know, is Worcester versus Georgia. Worcester versus Georgia is the Indian Removal Act. That we'll get into that more next week. We're not there yet. I want to do a little more in depth on that one. But that's the case with the court case. Anybody have any questions up to this point that they want to ask or they're unsure of before I go on to Adam's president?
Was the corrupt bargain illegal? No. Good question, Rogan. If you would think that it's illegal, see, I got my crown. You would think that it's illegal, but really what happened is it's just one of those dirty deals that goes down because it's about networking and soliciting. It's politics at its best. It's not illegal, but the question would be more, is it unethical? And it could be argued that it was unethical because that it was a dirty deal, hence why it's called a corrupt bargain. A lot of times we have things that happen in government that aren't illegal, but we consider them unethical. Does that answer your question?
Because it's about networking and soliciting and politics at its best. It's not illegal, but the question would be more, is it unethical? And it could be argued that it was unethical because it was a dirty deal. Hence why it's called the corrupt bargain. A lot of times we have things that happen.
Okay. The war hawk, so important. It's a term that we're going to have that's created. Basically, it's guys who want to go to war a lot over anything. And the reason we need to know the war hawks is that was leading to the War of 1812. And if you recall, under Washington, Adams, Jefferson, up till Madison, we're trying to avoid war because, especially after Jefferson, because he destroyed the military. He shrunk it to nothing. And we're going, we don't have a way to pay people. We got rid of the Bank of the U.S. because remember, we had to do the second charter under the end of Madison, the beginning of Monroe. The second Bank of the U.S. had to come out because we let that charter die. But then, oh, wait, we had a war. We had to pay people. We had to do things like that. So they tried to pay land to get people to serve. And we had this elite fighting force. Thanks. Charles, you need to know the War of 1812, when it began and when it ended. You need to know the Louisiana Purchase. Anybody tell me the other important date is, when was the Constitutional Convention? What year was that? Yeah, Tristan, we're going to cover everything from the Constitution up to these presidents. 1787, good. You need to know the Constitutional Convention. You're going to need to know about the Constitution. Any questions you have about the Constitution that you don't understand or get?
Yeah, Tristan, we're going to cover everything from the Constitution up to these presidents. 1787, good. You need to know the Constitutional Convention. You're going to need to know about the Constitution. Any questions you have about the Constitution that you don't understand or get?
Like the bargains that were made, the compromises that were made, the Virginia Plan, the New Jersey Plan, the Bill of Rights. You need to know those first 10 amendments. What are they? I'm going to move on to Adams for a minute. John Adams had the famous XYZ affair, which is where we had not a penny for tribute, but millions for defense. Anybody know what that quote means? Not a penny for tribute, but millions for defense.
Bargains that were made, compromises that were made, Virginia Plan, New Jersey Plan, Bill of Rights. These are the first 10 amendments. What are they? I'll move on to Adams for a minute. John Adams had the famous XYZ affair, which is where we had not a penny for tribute, but millions for defense. Anybody know what that quote means? Not a penny for tribute, but millions for defense.
Yep. Well, we're not going to give the bribe because you remember the French said, "Oh, if you put a little money in my account, I'll make them go." But forget that. Yep, exactly, Dianar. They will not give them any money, and they would rather spend it to going to war. Exactly. So we had those secret. Hi, love.
Hello.
How are you?
You still doing it?
I'm almost done. Okay. My dog and my husband came out.
Come on.
Anyway, so we got about 5 more minutes and then I gotta go because my family needs me and y'all need to get to bed and sleep because your body needs rest. Alien and Sedition Act, guys. If anything you think in modern history right now gets bad, it can't be as bad as the Alien and Sedition Act. It's probably as bad as it got under John Adams. What did the Alien Sedition Act say?
Anyway, so we got about 5 more minutes, and then I gotta go. My family needs me. Y'all need to get to bed and sleep because your body needs rest. Alien and Sedition Act, guys. If anything you think in modern history right now gets bad, it can't be as bad as the Alien and Sedition Act. Right, as bad as it got under John Adams. What did the Alien Sedition Act say?
We had to kick out all the foreigners that were dangerous or any Frenchmen that would talk bad about the president. And then the sedition was anybody talking out against the government went to jail. So the president could remove anyone. Yes. So that was the bad thing. And it violates the First Amendment. So if we're going to violate any of them, don't do the First Amendment. But that's where we're at. I hope this helps. Here's some things I need from y'all. I need some feedback and yes, you can't say anything bad about Adams. I need some feedback from y'all. I posted on Google Classroom, and I'm going to post the video on Google Classroom so you can watch it again if you need to. Give me some ideas on what to do to fill some of the time, and let me know what your ideas are or things that we can do to jazz this up. I mean, it's only the second time, but that way we can do a little more hip on the fly Q&A pop-up tutorials. Y'all have a great night and I'll talk to you later. Bye.